Hi, everyone. I'm Pulkit from UPenn, and today I'll be talking about postmortem image analysis of the human brain at 7 Tesla. I presented some of this work last year, so this is going to be a one-year update to what I've been up to since I defended my PhD. So just to set the stage, we all know that Alzheimer's is a disease which is presented by multiple co-pathologies which act together and those are simultaneously involved in neurodegeneration. In particular, AD is studied within this framework of ATN, where we look at the content of amyloid, tau, and neurodegeneration. And this particular framework has enabled scientists to develop imaging biomarkers that could support early-stage clinical trials. However, due to the heterogeneity of AD and comorbidity of the different pathologies, it is very difficult for clinicians to determine to what extent cognitive decline is driven by AD versus other factors. And therefore, the current in vivo biomarkers, they do not detect the presence or measure the burden of different co-pathologies or concomitant diseases. Therefore, there is a need to identify and obtain structural measurements from regions sensitive to AD, and therefore we could then use those to derive in vivo biomarkers that can detect and quantify mixed pathology. So to achieve this, we believe that a joint analysis of high-resolution postmortem MRI and histology could together link regional changes in brain morphometry on one hand and the underlying pathological processes within Alzheimer's and related dementias, which could then help validate in vivo biomarkers that could consider pathologic heterogeneity in clinical trials. So postmortem MRI, at the end of the day, could act a bridge modality between antemortem in vivo MRI on one hand and histopathology-derived count-width measurements. So at UPenn, we have a very large brain bank with over 2,000, 3,000 brains, and these are mostly collected by the Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases. So at Penn, patients are presented either at the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center or the FTDC Center, and they undergo routine clinical therapy and evaluation. And over the years, we have obtained a lot of in vivo data, so that could be structural, functional, PET, or diffusion MRI for each patient. And also, we do a lot of blood work. And after they pass away, these brains are donated to this Center for Neurodegenerative Research Center. And then one hemisphere is used for MRI, and the other hemisphere is used for histopathology. So till date, we have imaged more than 230 brains, which span a lot of different diseases within the AD spectrum and beyond. To name a few, AD, Lewy body disease, and FTD are the three main cohorts, diseases in our cohort. So what we do is, during the autopsy of a specimen, we take one hemisphere and we image that using 7 Tesla. And the other hemisphere, that is the contralateral tissue, is used for histopathology for other neuropathological examinations. Very briefly, we fixate our brains for at least 30 days in formalin. And the day before the imaging is done, we take the brain out. We remove all the excess water using some kind of vacuum. And then we take that brain and immerse that into formalin overnight and to make sure any trapped air bubbles are removed. After that, we image that at 7T using a custom coil. And we obtain 3 different MRIs for every brain specimen. So at 3 different resolutions. So one is a KISS scan at 500 microns, a T2-weighted scan at 300 microns, and a T2 star flash scan at 160 microns. For the purposes of this talk, I'll be focusing all the analysis on the T2-weighted 300 microns. And as I said, the contralateral tissue is used for histopathology. And for that, very briefly speaking, we 3D print custom molds. And then using those custom molds, we slab the brain as per the criteria for that particular brain. And then we have a lot of different staining mechanisms to evaluate different neuropathology. In particular, we have identified around 18 to 22 different brain regions which are implicated in ADRD. And in those particular brain regions, we do histopathology and for a variety of different, using a variety of different staining mechanisms. And then we rate different pathology slides going from a scale of 0 to 3, starting from no or rare existence to mild, moderate, and then severe. Now, so that was all the data sets that we have. Now, turning to image analysis, I don't have to tell the audience in this room how difficult postmortem image analysis is, but you can broadly divide like why postmortem image analysis is hard into two categories. One is based on the MRI itself. You can have a lot of different imaging artifacts, such as dropout signals in the anterior and posterior part of the brain. In our case, these are highly diseased brains, so you can see that the ventricles are highly collapsed, and in the medial, near the hippocampus or in the frontal lobe, you can see that the brain is really squished because of diseases. And then again, we have different protocols, so every protocol has different imaging distributions. And also, some of the brains have these tissues which are cut out or excised for neuropathological examination. So we have to take that into account as well. On the other hand, there are just limited whole hemisphere brain analysis tools. Most of the tools, as you know, are very region-specific, or they don't apply to high-resolution imaging, or they might have volumetric component or the surface component, but not both at the same time. Or some studies only are related to qualitative analysis. So in the second half of the talk, I'm going to discuss what are the tools that I've built in the lab over the past few years. And in particular, there are two different tools. One is purple, and the other is violet, which I'll talk about in a bit. And so this is a framework where we are trying to create a whole hemisphere image analysis tool to do group-wise analysis, just as how it is the norm in vivo imaging. So the first thing that we do is we develop a voxel-based tissue segmentation pipeline, followed by a surface-based pipeline. And then we also develop a method to do within subject in vivo, ex vivo registration, which again is very hard. And then finally, we can use segmentation, parcellation, and registration to do group-wise studies in ex vivo space, and then contrast that with corresponding in vivo analysis. So I don't have much time to go into the math, so I'll just show a lot of figures, which I've been doing so far as well. So first, for voxel-based segmentation, we generate some manual tissue segmentations for these 10 different structures. And then we train an NN unit, which is still arguably the best neural network model for segmentation. And then we obtain, for our T2 weighted scans, these 10 different labels at 0.3 mm. And as you can see, the model does pretty okay. It does a great job in like different intensity distributions in areas where there is low contrast due to the B1 inhomogeneity field, or cases where it's highly atrophied. But this is just voxel-based. It just gives us 10 segmentations. We want to go beyond and do the segmentation and parcellation at much higher, at much granular level. So next, using the voxel level segmentation, we develop a surface-based pipeline mimicking a lot of tools from FreeSurfer to be able to parcellate the brain into different atlases. And for this, we take our T2 scan, we get the voxel level segmentation, and then from that, we use that particular image to do the surface analysis. So from that, we extract the white matter surface, correct for any topology errors, inflate that surface, do the spherical projection, register that to an external spherical space, such as the FS average, and then we place the white matter and the PL surfaces using at 0.3 mm by actually going into the source code of FreeSurfer and changing a lot of things, which I'm happy to discuss later. And then finally, we are able to obtain native resolution surface parcellations using any atlas that you can think of, and then you can obtain surface-based derivatives. In the last part of the talk, so these are some results, where on the left, these are native subject space resolution in DKT Atlas, and on the right, for the first subject, you can see that that particular subject also is segmented or parcellated using a lot of different atlases in the community. It shows me 3 minutes here, and you pointed 2, so okay. I'll hurry up now. And a couple of things to mention. So in postmortem imaging, it's really hard to separate out the buried sulcus. So we have developed a couple of, we have used this particular method called CRUISE in NIRIS, which has helped us to segment the buried sulcus in postmortem MRI. And the other thing is, which I talked about, we have a lot of anterior and posterior dropout. So we use a multimodal approach to solve for that as well. So this is without that correction, and this is with that correction. So you can see how greatly that improves. Third thing is, one more other limitation of our data set is that there are a lot of these cuts, these excised tissues. And if you segment them without taking care of that, it will present a challenge in surface-based modeling. So what we do is we create some additional labeled training examples, and then we are able to fill those gaps with the tissue that could have been in that particular region. And now when you do surface-based modeling, you should not have any of those errors. So these are without that correction. You can see that there are gaps in this surface-based parcellation, but when you correct for that, you get nice-looking surfaces. Okay, so I need to hurry up. Last part. So we are done with segmentation and parcellations in any anatomical parcellation scheme. Then next part is that we need to do deformable registration between corresponding in vivo and ex vivo MRI, again, whole hemisphere. And the purpose of doing registration is so that you can transform whatever you learn in ex vivo space to in vivo, and then from in vivo to pathology. So for this, we developed 2 different methods. One is based on the label simple, like deformable registration using the labels that we obtain from in vivo and ex vivo segmentations. So that's pretty easy and robust. But we also developed another method called Violet, which is a joint optimization model which uses 3D image translation. So you make one image look like the other, and now you convert a multimodal registration problem into a monomodal registration problem, which is much easier to solve. So we just proposed this and released this year as MICAI, and this is like a joint optimization scheme between translation in 3D using diffusion models and registration using classical methods. Happy to talk about this more. So these are some results where the in vivo and ex vivo is registered. And then finally, you can use the same model to do the registration between ex vivo and pathology. And then finally, you have all 3 modalities in one particular space, and that is a good way to map information between the modalities. So now that we have segmentation registration, finally, we can perform group-wise analysis, just how it is done in vivo. So what we do is we take our surface parcellation, get thickness from it, and then you can map individual thickness of every subject to a template, let's say FS average. And then you can look at measurements of morphometry with corresponding pathology. And what we observe is that when we look at these t-statistics map of these GLM studies, where we look at point-wise thickness versus the average neuronal loss or tau burden, we do expect to see that postmortem MRI is more sensitive than antemortem MRI. And hotter the color here shows the more significance or stronger correlation. And indeed, it is the case that postmortem MRI is more sensitive to these measurements. Using these methods, now we are looking at, for the T2 star 160 microns, we are looking at cortical layers. Using Laney, we are looking at hyperintensities, subthalamic nuclear structures, and look also in collaboration with the Amsterdam group, looking at in situ and ex vivo correlations. Everything is on GitHub Docker Python package, and thanks for listening.